job for you. Piece of cake, really.
Good.
It's a security gig.
Hello?
Welcome to Freddy's. Have you met them yet?
Met who?
Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy. Back in the 80s, some kids went missing.
What is this?
That's why the place shut down. The police searched Freddy's.
Hey!
They never found the kids.
What the heck?
Ghost children possessing giant robots? Tell me how to stop them.
You don't. It's too late. He's coming.
Boom, there you go. That was the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's in theaters right now, as well as on Peacock. It's your boy Kuya P. This is Nerds World World, and as you see on the screen, I'm excited to have my brother from Sartorial and Geek, Webster Style, Checkpoint Squad. It's Webster Style. What's good, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's early. Need some coffee.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you giving me some of your time. It's actually the Saturday after the film premiered in theaters as well as on Peacock. My big homie over there, Mr. Webster Style, has a young fan in the household. So I was happy to hear that he was going to check it out. So that way I could conduct this review for y'all. I had the pleasure of screening it early. And so now we're going to chat about what we saw. As I said on if you catch us up on YouTube, and I do like little shorts, my initial thoughts coming up out of it, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm a weeb, I'm a noob to Five Nights at Freddy's. I didn't play the game. I'm not too into the lore, or I don't really know the lore at all, just kind of a gloss over. It's Chuck E. Cheese horror type shit. Right. Yeah, I'm very curious to hear what my boy Webster Style thought. But before we get into that, we'll just break down like the story real quick, the overall tone of the story, the characters, our thoughts on that, and then our full review. So story, Webster Style, man, you can tell me whether or not this rings true to the actual game.
I'll say this, from what I understand, and this is the weirdest thing, before I started living with a super fan, I was familiar. I'd seen like Mark Pillar play it, and I'd seen some of the theories from game theory, which I thought were very interesting. So I was somewhat familiar with the lore, especially if they broke down like the lore in each one of the games. So I was familiar, but a lot of the nuances were confirmed by my super fan as we were watching the movie of how true it was to the game in many respects. Is what Freddy and them are spoilers? Like, did we do spoilers here?
Yeah, we can do spoilers. But,
okay.
But before you dive to get into that, let me just give a quick brief overview. We have Josh Hutcherson as a father who is struggling with work because of things that happened in his past, and which will get detailed throughout the film, and we'll dive into that as well, because again we'll throw some spoilers in there because it's out and available right now, y'all, on Peacock as well as in theaters. So this is a spoiler review. He's dealing with the ramifications that can't keep a job, so he ends up at like this dead-end job where it's an overnight gig protecting this Chuck E. Cheese style place. I think it's called Freddy Fazbear's or whatever.
Fazbear's Pizza.
Yeah. So he's taking care of that, and then certain animatronics come to life during that. And we'll dive into more plot, but that's the essential plot of the story. And then our actors are, hold up, let me pull it up. Josh Hutcherson again as our lead. Kind of weird watching him in this. I know you kind of mentioned as well, Eldon. You know him from like, I guess, as a young kid actor.
Yeah, young kid, and then Hunger Games. That's like, I know he's done other
Hunger Games,
but I haven't seen him in well, a lot of things I've watched haven't featured him. I'll put it like this. I know he's been working.
Yeah,
on Hulu a while ago, and he's done some other films since then, since the Hunger Games. died out. So like I know it's been working. Kudos to Josh for that, and kudos to him for this film. I thought he did a good job in this film overall, actually.
Yeah, decent. It is weird seeing him because I know him for younger roles. So because he doesn't, I don't know, quite look like a father yet for me.
Well, that was his sister though.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. At first, I thought it was, but then you know what? You're right.
But
like just the initial thought until they kind of distinguished that it was his sister.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was his father, but yeah, you're right. But that just kept on playing in my head just because of the initial presentation. So shout out to Josh Hutcherson. He was our lead. We have Piper Rubio as the young actress that played Abby, his sister. Two other standouts, because again, there's the cast is kind of very generic, or at least for me. I'm not too familiar with all the other actors, but the other two standouts were Mary Stuart Masterson as Aunt Jane,
right?
Who is the aunt to Josh Hutcherson's character,
that one you wanted to hate,
the one who wants to be the new caretaker for the family. And then Matthew Lillard, y'all. We all know him. He's done Scream. He's been around the block for a while. He plays Steve Raglan, who's kind of a career counselor to help Josh Hutcherson's character get the job at Freddy Fazbear. So that's your generic story and cast. I want to go ahead and toss it back to you, Eldon, to kind of, now we'll get into the nitty gritty and some fine details in our overall review and feeling of the film.
Well, I'll say this, even before the film came out, I had high hopes because the only thing I knew about this movie was the Jim Henson Company was doing the animatronics. I'm like, oh, I'm sold. That's
I didn't know that. Did they actually do it? So did that stay all the way through? They did actually do the animatronics? Oh, okay.
Yep. And you can tell because Freddy and them are very lifelike. They look real and they look creepy. So I would
especially the inner workings. That's scary.
Like they did I'm kind of jumping around, but I feel as though they did a very good job of bringing the game to life. And from what I understand, like the Mike character and that whole thing, that is new to the movie, if I remember correctly. So they use that story to talk about everything else and to intertwine it, which I really liked. And one of the things you said was you get more of a psychological horror sort of thing, and you do. But I will say this. I think the first act bored me. I was waiting for it to end. I was really waiting for it to end, but it does ramp up and it does really get you really invested by the time the end of the movie comes around. Overall, I was really surprised. I enjoyed it. And again, probably because of who I watched it with, even more so. I enjoyed it. It's definitely something I would have gone into on my own and watched it on my own. But I was telling Kuya earlier today, like how we are going to see a Marvel movie and we're with respective spouses or friends who are not as deep in lore, and we get geeked out over those sort of things, those little nuances, like, oh, that's so and so, like, especially case in point, the Across the Spider-Verse films, especially like the last one. I'm geeking out like I don't know what, and the same individual is looking at me while we're watching like I'm crazy because I know all these Spider and I'm geeking out, and especially like the Spider-Man that was in black and silver armor. Remember that from Web of Spider-Man number 100, and like I'm loving that. That's how they were watching Five Nights at Freddy's. Like they're geeking out, they're excited from beginning in. Like the musical cues, like that's so and so song, that's so and so song. All the jump scares with Balloon Boy, they jump just like they do watching and playing the game. It was so cool watching their reaction to it. It gave me a better appreciation of the movie. But all in all, I'll say I enjoyed the movie. I thought that from what I know of Five Nights at Freddy's, it did a really good job of capturing the tone of the games. It was creepy. I'm thinking of creepy and scary at the same time. Who's coining it? It's creepy. But it was creepy, if not scary, but you did have a lot of those little jump scares, like I talk about with Balloon Boy showing up every now and again. You saw a lot of lore, like with marionettes, and one of the things I asked the little person was, wait a minute, they really possessed by ghost kids? Like I didn't realize that. Like I didn't realize that they were actually inside of the animatronics. and are now possessing them, inhabiting them. I'm like, I didn't know that.
So that is 100. That is 100.
That is 100. That wasn't the, yeah. I was like, wait a minute, that really? She's like, yep, that's it. I'm like, I did not know that.
Ah.
So that added another layer to me of the depth of it, because I knew like tangentially, because the games and stuff in the front and in the beginning of the movie, like a lot of that's taken from the actual games. They're like they were little 8-bit shorts in some of the games that told some of this lore and the story, and that was what you saw in the beginning of the game with William Afton and everything. And speaking of which, I didn't see that villain twist at the end.
Yeah. All of this was like, that's why I actually quite enjoyed it and was happy I went in as a noob, because I didn't have any like preconceived stuff. You know, we as you said earlier, as Marvel nerds, we kind of have already this existing knowledge, and do they deliver it to us? And then when we get it, we're like, ooh, right?
Right.
But this, I had nothing. And so blank slate, and I was like, okay. And actually what was weird, and I'm curious about you too, as well, because what I know coming into it is like, there's a preteen set, like a younger generation that are all about this. And
Yeah,
it's like horror though. Well, like I know,
Yeah.
but which is crazy is I shouldn't say that, because at like 10 years old, I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street, like slasher films, all of that. And I had to think, bro, they're just like you. They're just like you.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, this is a little scary. I don't know. Should the kids be watching this? Right. The parent hat was on, and I was like,
yeah.
okay. So yeah, I was just like, okay, just is that too slashery? Or, you know, maybe this, and like, is it too in depth? But okay, I love that your daughter, who's a super fan.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, especially in the beginning. But again, I say to you, and the same thing I tell them. I said, you have no idea what I was watching at your age. Like
Exactly.
This is tame compared to what I was watching at your age. I mean, look, we know what 80s horror movies were like. Even when they were censored on TV, that was, you know. But I will say, the fact that it was PG-13, and you know, we've talked, I'm not big on PG-13 horror movies because they usually are very generic.
Yeah.
This created a very good tension, in my opinion, within the film, where you had that heightened sense of fear without necessarily having the gore, and you did get some of that subtly and off screen or in shadows. You got some things that you want to see, with, you know, and case in point. So there was a Nicolas Cage movie, Willy's Wonderland, which is basically a ripoff of Five Nights at Freddy's. They came out maybe a year or 2 years ago. That's exactly what you would think this would be.
Yeah.
With Nicolas Cage. It's crazy, off the wall, blood, guts, everything. So if you want a R-rated version of this, but honestly, I'll say even compared to that movie is not as good of a movie as this. And I can't believe I'm saying that. That movie was a great horror movie. This movie just had the story and the twist, and it was very unpredictable. And I think with the introduction of Hutchinson's character and his sister, and then everything surrounding that, his connection with William Ashton, that added a new depth to the story. And then the sort of, dare say, psychic connection the sister had with Freddy and, well, the kids that are trapped in the animatronic bodies, that added a very supernatural element, and like you said too, a psychological element as well, which I was very impressed with. I would not have thought that it would have had that much depth or that heartfelt as well.
Yeah. So if you don't mind it, because I don't know how much you grilled your little super fan over there. I got some questions, bro, because I'm intrigued. Again, pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. So you confirmed these are kids trapped in these animatronic bodies, right? So with the sidebar thing of Josh Hutcherson's Mike's character looking for his brother, you know, that happened in his past, child abduction, and then spoiler alerts, again, we're going to do spoilers. The career counselor turns out to be the one well, is the one that gets him the job, but there's a reason for it,
Yeah.
is because he's been putting people into this position. So I'm putting two and two together. He is the serial killer, well, not serial killer, or the child abductor. So he's abducting these kids, killing them, and then the supernatural, which that didn't fully get explained. So how is he enchanting these kids into these bodies other than locking them into them? I'm curious. Is that all tied to the game?
I don't think there's a supernatural, like, it's not like a Chucky thing. And can't take. I think it's,
and that's what I thought. Maybe is it a la Chucky?
No, that's just how it worked. That they're like, he killed them in that way, and their souls inhabited these animatronics. Now, he did say during that final battle with Mike that he killed his brother, so there was no stuffing in the animatronic. So his brother is dead. But yeah, that was part of it. And then, but that also plays up into the end, and then the message at the end that was spelled out. I don't know if you stayed till the end credits.
I don't, remind me. I don't know if I remember.
In message, the computer voice said, "I am alive."
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Look, I wasn't
that at my screening,
but somebody was, and told me what it said.
Oh wow!
So
yeah, I think I might have missed that.
So yeah, I also too. I will say this: since we're talking about the main villain, can we give Matthew Lillard some props? He plays crazy really well.
Yes.
Like,
shout out to Matthew Lillard. Props.
I like how the villain was defeated as well. It wasn't what you would think would happen in that scenario, but really played on a lot of the strengths and connections that were made in the movie, especially with Mike's sister and the kids that inhabited the bodies of the animatronics. A lot of this was unexpected. This wasn't predictable. You know, you and I both see a lot of movies. A lot of movies like this are predictable down to the T. You know, you get to a certain age, there's nothing new that you haven't seen and how things are done.
Exactly.
And the fact that I'm watching this movie and I literally don't know what's going to happen, even though this is an established property, regardless of established properties, you know, set everything up. Okay, you have like something in the middle, and then you have a climax at the end, and the hero wins, and yada yada yada, and yada yada yada. Okay, great. This didn't work that way. In many respects, even with the revelation of Vanessa, I liked how they revealed more about her during the course of the movie, where you as an audience, like, how did she know all this stuff if she was a kid back then? Like, this doesn't make sense. And then when you get that revelation that, oh, she's Afton's daughter, like, that was like, I was like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see, like, because I always thought, like, how did she know all this stuff? And then to come to revelation, like, she is the daughter of the killer, and the killer's still very much alive and in control. Like, that whole revelation toward the end was like,
yeah,
I didn't see
and
that.
killed the daughter, which was, you know,
well, she's
certain
not
tropes, you know, something like,
yeah,
what?
well, she's not dead, but you
she didn't die. That's right.
You expected her to walk away just like, oh, it's just a flesh wound. No, like, she's on a full ventilator when we done the movie. You don't know if she'll live and die after. Like, that's what I really liked about it. You did not know how these things,
there were stakes.
Yeah, we're going to end. And like, people perished in this movie. People who you never, like Mike's would-be girlfriend. I didn't think she was going to die. Like, and the fact that she got chomped in half, like, I love that part, but still, like, I didn't think that she was going to go.
Yeah.
Like,
and I love the casting of the movie. The people that they cast were non-traditional in a lot of ways. At least, you know, they try to sexy it up with certain looks and people, you know what I'm saying? These look like real people. Not that these people are ugly, by the way, you know what I'm saying? But just, they look like normal, regular people, especially the people that Mike was having in the house and the brothers and all, you know, that busted into the Freddy Fazbears and stuff. They were really, those look like normal cats you see every day. Then that wouldn't be the normal villains in a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I was trying to understand, when was this movie set? Because it didn't seem like it was present day, but it didn't seem like it was too far ago based on the car Mike was driving. Mm-hmm. But then people were so actively using VHS tapes.
Yeah. Well,
I
Could
was
be
thinking,
middle America, you know.
and also I didn't see any cell phones either.
You know what? You're right. I gotta
And
look. Now,
I had to
now I want
explain
to
to
do more research
somebody.
on that.
I explained to somebody what that was. He was calling on as far as the telephone.
Yeah.
Like that's a telephone. That's what you should use back, especially the ones that work. So I was getting a late '90s, early 2000s sort of feel because that would have been just like, especially by Mike's car. Mike's car was a probably late '90s, early 2000s model of
Mhm.
something. So I was like, okay, and that would make sense in some respect to how some of the things played out. And yeah, but I like that, and I like that more so because you don't know when it's happening. So it could be happening now, it could be happening years ago. And they talked about Fast Freddy's being big in the 80s. So it seemed like it being closed, but maybe not for like 30, 40 years closed based on the way the
Yeah.
interior looked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe 10 years or so. So for me, that makes me think it's somewhere in the 90s, maybe early 2000s, maybe
Mhm.
talking about 01 or 02. So yeah, but again, I like that aspect of the movie, how you didn't really know where it was in history. So it could happen yesterday, it could happen today, with regards to the events. And it wasn't tied to anything. In a movie like that, you can watch whenever it is.
Yeah. I want to also though point out that just to me was though super glaring, but we wouldn't have a movie if they didn't do it. Is just the whole sense of they lock it up during the day and you could still lock it up technically during the night and you'd still be fine. There was no reason
Yeah,
for them to
exactly.
be guarding this joint overnight when it's locked up already during the, like, it made no sense, but you wouldn't have a movie if they didn't do it. So just wanted to, it provided us entertainment,
Yeah,
and
I
yeah,
was
I was
thinking,
very pleasantly surprised by this movie.
yeah, I was thinking at first. I thought about that and I said, so is there a security guard during the day and they just don't come alive during the day, and it only happens at night?
Yeah.
Because that's actually what I thought. Even with the games, I'm like, okay, so they only come to live at night, not during the day. Because wouldn't there be a security guard all the time if the place is closed?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that I agree with you on that one. That just the logic of that, like, this doesn't make sense whatsoever.
Yeah. But overall, man, it gave us a great film. And, again, you pointed out that there's a I Am Alive at the end. If we could get, again, your daughter's thoughts a little bit. So we get that Kurt Dell thing that somebody's alive. What do you think of a part two? Did she bring up any convo about a part two? And did she overall enjoy this adaptation of
Oh,
her
she was
favorite
ecstatic
game?
from beginning to end.
Yeah.
She had her little plushies with her, and oh, she had her crew, her children, she called them. So yeah, she was excited the whole way through. As far as a part two, she didn't say anything about that, but I know what they're like 4 mainline games and like 2 sister locations, and so there's a bunch of stuff there for them to mine. But I think they did a really good job of making their own story, especially with the whole Mike character and everything. I think that, and this is funny, like this is the first and only time where somebody's telling me who created what, and she's like, "Oh, that's Scott Crofton. He created it." I'm like, "Who's that?" Oh, and then the cab driver, right?
Oh,
And
yeah, I heard was a YouTuber.
it's her favorite YouTuber because of this. She's like, "There's so and so. There's so and so." She got it. I'm like, this is like watching a little me. Oh my
I
goodness.
love it.
Like straight up a little me. But yeah, she loved it. She's excited. I'm waiting for her. Well, I don't know if she's going to ask me to watch it again, but now it's, well, no, one good thing is PG-13, so she can't exactly access it via kids Peacock. So she
Okay.
can just watch it on her own. But I wouldn't mind it. Like we said before, this is very benign, based on some of the things we watched at her age and kids' age.
So true.
And this is, I think there's some themes here that definitely, as far as adults, definitely may have to explain it. I know I did,
Yeah.
during our conversations.
Okay.
As far as just not so much like evil stuff, like why does she act like that? What is going on? Like, and explaining things. So it's definitely some conversation. If you have younger children who like this, with some of the more adult conversations and themes of the movie.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that if I'm looking at, if somebody told me to do maybe not a perfect PG-13 Five Nights at Freddy's game, or not game, movie. This is a pretty good attempt at it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree. And actually, you just reminded me of the young actress again that played the character, Josh's sister. Again, I kept on my brain was father-daughter relationship, being that I am a father with a daughter, and you as well. I liked that she really was solid throughout, and just kind of provided a representation of autistic kids in a way. Not that she was autistic, but
those conversations that were had with him and the teacher.
Yeah, I thought that was really good, and it was consistent.
Yeah, and shout out, and I have to say, I really enjoyed the dialogue. The dialogue was very realistic.
Yes,
sometimes you see movies, especially movies like this, and more so looking at Mike's character, even the dialogue with the teacher, the dialogue with the aunt, maybe not so much the lawyer. Let me phrase that. The dialogue with Mike and the aunt, not some of the aunt's other dialogue. That whole thing was pretty far-fetched and pretty evil villainish. But the real conversations that were had in this movie, I enjoyed the dialogue because it felt realistic. It felt like these are real things that would be said during the course of these events. Even with Vanessa and what she said and how things were slowly revealed with her, but the things she said about it. And even once she revealed that William Afton was her father, he's very much alive, her comments about, what did she say? I wouldn't be that much help to you anyway. I felt her pain of okay, that's my dad. He's crazy, but he's still my dad. I appreciated that. It allowed me to take the movie more seriously from a story perspective. And while you have the nonsensical about possessed ghost kids or ghost kids possessing animatronics. You have the fantastical, nonsensical, but then it's very well grounded by the dialogue between these actors. Even the not girlfriend babysitter, in the beginning of you can clearly tell she has eyes for Mike, and she really wants to be with him. Even the comment that she made when the diamond commercial came on, it's I wish somebody would buy me a ring. And she said it quiet enough but loud enough so he could possibly overhear. That I get that was very real dialogue, and I appreciate that. Many times in movies, especially when they deal out of the realm of reality, some of the dialogues or even behavior, you say, what is wrong with y'all? Seriously. And I'll say this, and look, I don't mean to offend anyone with this comment, but us people of color have a saying when it comes to watching horror movies is stupid those people. And you know what I'm talking about? I get sick of that because I hate that trope. I hate to have those people in those movies that are just doing very stupid things when they know the possibility of death is at hand. I didn't feel that in this movie. I didn't see that in this movie. People made, with the best information they had, they made very smart decisions, whether or not it worked out in their favor or not. They made very smart decisions during the course of this movie, which made sense. And that's, again, what steeped it in somewhat reality and made me appreciate this movie more, is that, okay, I can see me doing that in that situation. What? They're animatronic, they're alive, possessed by ghost children, and my sister's communicating with them. The fact he's I got to wrap my head around this is exactly what somebody would say. He's just he's processing this. It's I can't believe this is real, but I see it happening. And now I'm talking to them. And now I realize these are kids that are in my dream now. And the whole thing is nonsense, but it was played very realistically, in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah, man. You said it all, brother. And I appreciate this back and forth. Very pleasantly surprised with this one. I came in there and then I'm now a little bit of a fan. I'd love to see a part 2. Curious about the games. And I love that your super fan daughter there. It's so beautiful, man. I love stuff like that. And can totally relate to that. That's super cool. Everybody, Five Nights at Freddy's. streaming on Peacock right now, as well as it's in theaters. Let us know what you think in the comments below. But before we get up out of here, Webster Style, if they want to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's with you and also see all the other dope stuff you got going on, because I know, tell them how they can catch up with you, bro.
You can catch me on Twitter, Instagram at Webster Style. Excuse me, TikTok _Webster Style, and anything and everything is Webster Style is websterstyle.com.
There you go. Show love to my brother Webster Style over there. And of course, for me, it's the Legend Kuya P on Twitter, TikTok, IG, Hive, Blue Sky. And of course, here with Webster Style, Checkpoint Squad, Kayfabe Baby, all the shows we do, man, at the NRW, at Release Wednesday, where nerds rule the world. Those are our thoughts, our vibes, our feelings on Five Nights at Freddy's. Let us know yours in the comments below.
Peace.
Five Nights at Freddy's is
Very intense.
A thrill ride.
It's terrifying.
Five Nights is
Scary.
scary. It's eerie.
nightmarish.
Visceral.
Super creepy.
It's out of this world.
We're going to have so much fun together.
What's going on, world? It's your boy Kuya P, NRW, Nerds Rule the World. Just got out of the press screening for Five Nights at Freddy's, arriving on Peacock, as well as in theaters October 27th. I think that's what it is. Anyway, initial thoughts coming out the joint. I'll be straight up. Never played the game, so I didn't have like anything come into it. Straight up noob coming into this joint. So my thoughts coming out of it, it was actually very entertaining. I was surprised. A little bit more psychological thriller than horror, but took some turns that I just wasn't expecting because I had no knowledge. And my thoughts are, I want to know more about the game, learn a little bit more. From what I understand, there was a cameo from a YouTube cat that made the game very popular. So very curious there. But overall, I enjoyed it. It was cool. Five Nights at Freddy's, y'all. Your boy QP, Nerds Rule the World. Stay tuned for a full review on the channel.
Nope, not today. Sorry. I said read the